Hi, I'm Randy Hours. You're watching the Randy and Christa Show, news that makes you healthier. And I'm here with my co-host, Christa Recchio.
We have a big show today, Randy. Lots of things to talk about.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about thyroid and
Yes.
how you could diagnose yourself without a blood test if you have a thyroid problem, hypothyroid. Sleep, the importance of it, how it could be making you fat. It can affect your concentration, your libido, your outlook on life. It could affect depression, and then digestion and gut health, which is, I guess, the whole journey with your
The whole journey is the idea of functional medicine, that the body functions as a systemic organism. We're going to get to it. Chronic exhaustion, that's a big thing.
Okay.
Book reviews.
And
Lots to go
of
over.
course, the book reviews. I want to talk a little bit about the most popular books out there, and I want to hear your. I'm really interested to hear your opinion about kind of what's going on, because I'm sure the people that go to the whole journey, they've tried everything.
Yeah.
Is that right? Now, for people that don't know you, because with me, I interview doctors. My program airs all over the U.S., all over Canada, and just about 1,000 half hours a month. And I saw you on local TV, and I said, that's my co-host. I've been looking for a co-host for a long time.
You knew right away?
I actually did.
We tested out with a few
Well, then you
interviews.
came on the first show, and it was good. It was good.
Good.
So for people that don't know you, tell me a little bit about your background and what you do.
Sure. A little bit about the whole journey. And my background is I'm a clinical nutritionist and also holistic nutritionist. So for the past 8 years, we're a team of nutritionists that work with clients from a functional diagnostic nutrition or functional medicine perspective, where we want to get to the root cause, which is what we're going to talk about on the show today, instead of the Band-Aid approach, and we address the whole person: mental, emotional, spiritual, which we're going to talk about, and physical. And the way we do that is over a period of 3 months, because change doesn't happen overnight, and you have to address the diet and use food as medicine to heal.
So functional medicine, people will say, is it integrative medicine? Is it anti-aging medicine? Functional medicine? What's a working definition for the show when we're talking about functional medicine?
I think the simplest
Like
definition,
what do you tell your clients?
healing from the root cause instead of addressing individual symptoms.
Okay.
I would say is a very simple definition of functional medicine, and looking instead of, today we're going to talk about the thyroid. Most people don't think thyroid health and digestive health inextricably connected, and Western medicine is just looking at, you have an endocrinologist, you have a gastroenterologist, they need to communicate. So it's a much different approach.
And you walk your talk. Let's start with the
Yeah.
thyroid. Okay. So what is it? It's like some people call it the mother hormone, the master hormone, but it is what? Like the furnace that, how do you explain it to people?
That's a great analogy. It's the furnace and the thermostat of the human body, and it's responsible for us making energy. And it's this little gland, it's right here in our neck, and this tiny little gland is responsible for how our digestion flows, for how much energy we have, how much mental fog or not, mental acuity. It's a big deal for the quality of our skin, hair, and nails.
Does some people come to
Cellular
you
energy.
and self-diagnose and say, I know I have a thyroid problem?
Well, a lot of people will come to me with lab work, and they're on thyroid meds, Synthroid, levothyroxine, for years, and they just don't think anything of it. And they think, okay, this is just the way my physiology is. I'm going to stay on this forever, and I have all these other problems. So I help them pull it together, and most people I can get off of medication if they're willing to take accountability and responsibility for their food and their lifestyle.
So, but you also come from the stance, you don't think most people, unless they have, genetic hypothyroid, they've always had a hypothyroid, but you don't think most people should be taking like an Armour thyroid or some of these other thyroids, that they could do it with food, with nutrition? Is that, I don't want to put words in your mouth here.
You can. I mean, we talked about Armour thyroid, and that's a natural thyroid. So I'm not against it. And the whole idea of functional medicine, I'm going to do whatever makes that person feel better in the moment, so that then we can then fix their health and then kind of titrate them off of these meds.
Okay.
That's the goal.
But I think this is important. When most people have been diagnosed because of their symptoms, not because of blood work, not because of TSH or T3 or T4 or the other test, that what happens is, because they have cold hands and feet, because they can't lose weight the way they used to, because they have brittle nails and saggy skin and their hair is out of control, that what happens is oftentimes they're just given a thyroid, okay? And they're constipated, because that's a big one for Armour. That one thing that the doctors are telling me, and I saw in a practice that I was involved in, that I was part owner, and that was that for constipation, it seems to really help right away. And with energy level right away. But it's not necessarily the big weight loss drug that a lot of people think it's going to be. Like, whereas, for example, they think it's just going to speed everything up. But it's not that kind of a quick fix. In fact, when I went to my first thyroid seminar, which was 13 years ago, by a guy named Neil Rousier, and I, I'm like most people, a lot of people, you want to lose a little bit of weight. And I heard it, and I literally prayed to God that I had a thyroid problem, because it sounded like...
Because you wanted a quick fix.
They named those symptoms. I said, that's me. And then I took the tests and several tests, and that wasn't my problem. Like I told you, my problem was at the end of my fork. It was eating, right? But I was too stubborn, because I was thinking it had to be something else.
Yeah,
So
you have to change your lifestyle and everything about what we do. It's not a quick fix. I mean, you can feel better right away, like we were just saying. You can feel better within a few weeks or a month. You start to change your diet, but to actually heal the body naturally, you've got to give it a couple of months and have some patience.
But you're not going to lose weight if you have a problem with your thyroid. And you're not going to have a lot of
I see
energy.
clients all the time, and they're making the cardinal mistake. I'm dieting, I'm not even eating that much, and I'm exercising like crazy, and I'm still gaining weight. And that's when I have them slow down their exercise because of the adrenal and the cortisol, the high cortisol relation with thyroid, and have them eating so much more. Most people need to be eating so much more than they are, and they just have to figure out the right foods to eat, when to eat, and how to make the body feel safe to regulate metabolism.
So let's talk about the functional test they could do at home
Easy
to know
test
if you
at
have a
home.
thyroid problem.
To know, okay, so when you wake up every morning for 6 days, get a thermometer, put it as soon as the alarm goes off, and you put the thermometer under your arm, you hit the snooze button, and then for 10 minutes lay still, and then you record your basal temperature. And if that is under 97.4, you have a sluggish thyroid. That's kind of bare bones, basic thing that I would have someone do.
You said that some people have like 94 degrees, 95 degrees.
Yeah, with
And that's
a lot of
clearly a
people
problem.
are in what I call metabolic devastation, and that's the thyroid, the adrenals, chronic exhaustion based upon 10 years of having a problem at the end of your fork, or 20 years, and to overstress and poor sleep habits, which is why this whole thing comes together.
Also taking the temperature, 20 minutes after a meal?
Yeah, if you want to get more ambitious, instead of lab work, then I would say take your pulse and your temperature 5 times throughout the day. When you wake up, 20 minutes after each meal, and before you go to sleep, and see where you're at. And you want to be right around 98.6, and if you're consistently running low, if a food helps you get to 98.6, that meal worked for you. And if it lowers your body temperature, it's too much work for you to process that. And this brings in digestion. Are you absorbing the nutrients? Does that food work for you?
So somebody, they do the at-home test. They're cold hands and feet, intolerance to cold. They're constipated. And they've never had a test with a doctor with a thyroid. In fact, with this book I read about hormones, there's like 70 things that could mean you have a thyroid problem, a hypothyroid. So what do you do to turn that around?
How can you turn around? Well, first you need to figure out, is it just a sluggish thyroid,
Okay.
right? Is it just that you don't have enough nutrients where you want to remove the things that block thyroid function and you want to add the foods in? I feel like you can pretty much solve any problem in the human body by taking away what doesn't belong there and adding in what does belong there.
Okay.
That's one thing. The second thing is, what if it's more severe than that? What if it's Hashimoto's or Graves', which is an autoimmune thyroid condition that the thyroid is confused and attacking healthy tissue?
Okay.
So it depends on what it is. And if it's the first and it's hypothyroid, it's a pretty simple fix. Most people are ragingly iodine deficient, and the thyroid needs iodine to function and to make these thyroid hormones. So we start to get them on good quality wild shellfish. I don't think you're a super fan of it, but I am.
Right, okay.
And
I only don't like it because of the fact, well, first of all, I don't like the way it feels or tastes and the way it looks. I'm
It's
squeamish.
slimy.
But there's a lot of heavy metals. It's a bottom feeder. It's just kind of a dirty thing to eat.
But it all depends on sourcing.
Okay.
That's a whole other show. We'll talk about
Yeah,
sourcing.
I don't understand sourcing
Oysters
yet.
are the single best food for the thyroid, and they'll help you make thyroid
because of the
hormones and
iodine.
pituitary gland.
What are the other foods that you can eat?
What are the other foods that you can eat? So what you need for the thyroid, sea vegetables. If you kelp, single best food. I have people buy these little shaker of kelp flakes. It just tastes like salt. It doesn't taste fishy. Shake that on their food. I mean, we'll use supplementation when we need
And these
it.
aren't things you do forever, right? This is something, if you have these symptoms, you start eating things that have iodine in them. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're doing?
Well, you want to have a healthy diet, and you want
Right.
to make sure you're getting enough for the thyroid. The thyroid needs iodine.
Okay.
Most people are deficient. It needs selenium, so things like Brazil nuts and sunflower seeds. The thyroid needs copper and it needs iron, and so these are foods that we should have in our diet anyway. So many problems come from nutrient deficiencies.
Okay.
But what about the things that are causing the problems? Gluten and soy are the two biggest offenders to slow down thyroid function. People who come to me and they say, oh, I'm healthy, I drink soy milk every day for the last 10 years. I say, let's test your thyroid because we probably have to rebuild it. Or gluten. If you have Hashimoto's or Graves', you have to get gluten out. It's like just treat it like the plague. It's horrendous. The protein in gluten, gliadin, will trigger the thyroid to attack itself. And soy, non-fermented soy, blocks the uptake of iodine. 60% of the iodine in the body is in the thyroid. So we're giving ourselves, we're auto-intoxicating a lot of the time.
So many people are into soy because it's healthy. They think it's healthy.
I know. That still surprises me.
There's even a website, The Truth About Soy. There's books bad-mouthing soy. But soy is pretty much, you got to get rid of soy.
You got to get rid of soy.
And the soy that we're eating is also GMO. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It's genetically modified.
Don't get me started.
This is another story. Okay,
Yes.
So these are all things that could suppress or
Thyroid
blunt
function.
the thyroid function
Yeah.
and could make you fat, tired, constipated, all
mentally
of those things.
foggy. Yeah, cold when everyone else in the room is comfortable.
And see, life is energy. And here's the thing: when I think about health in general, that if you eat this way, the way we're talking, it allows you to do more of what you love to do in life.
Yeah.
So if you like to hike, or if you like to swim, or God forbid you even like to bowl, right? Then you can do that.
Bowling's fun.
Really, is that
Okay.
right? Were you bowling? You bowl?
No, I don't, but
With
I
all your
would.
spiritual friends, you guys are out bowling? I always wonder
With all my vegan friends,
what do
I
you
go
guys do
bowling
on
with
Fridays
them,
and Saturday nights? To talk about, because you can't eat very many things, right? You're afraid of the local restaurants. Okay, that's a separate story. Okay, so clean up their diet, help the thyroid, support the thyroid.
Support the thyroid. Yeah, support the thyroid. There's a chemical compound called goitrogens, which also block thyroid function, which are in peanuts.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Peanuts.
Down the road.
You think they should eat peanuts?
I think not. If you have a thyroid problem, you should not be eating peanuts. Yeah. So the other thing I want to mention, and this is really important for people watching who have had thyroid problems for years, Graves' or Hashimoto's, I find 80% of the time it's connected to a parasite in the digestive tract that the body can't eradicate. So I eliminate gluten, 50% of the problem is fixed. People lose 15 pounds within the first month. And then you got to run a stool test. You got to see what's happening in there. And then you eliminate the parasite, rebuild the gut.
But the parasite is doing what? What is the
body.
parasite doing that's affecting the thyroid?
Well,
Causing inflammation, or how is it directly attacking the thyroid?
That's a great question. It's causing
roll
inflammation. You're on a roll. Yeah, so it's killing the good bacteria. Which,
There we go.
Good bacteria helps us digest our food. It's also causing leaky gut syndrome, putting a heavy immune burden on the body, because now toxins are leaking into the bloodstream instead of staying in the digestive tract. And then it's compromising our ability to digest our food and get nutrients, and the thyroid, being the metabolic regulator, is going to take our nutrients and use that to make energy, and now you're thwarting the process because you're not getting the nutrients for energy.
So moving on to sleep. If you don't get enough sleep,
Yes.
you almost can't be healthy. You can't feel good.
You can't be
You can't lose weight.
Yeah.
And I have strong opinions about this. I was an insomniac for quite some time.
So was I.
In your practice, tell me about how you address sleep.
Okay, well, the first 4 hours of sleep are physical repair. Second 4 hours of sleep are psychic repair. And so you need to be sleeping if the liver is going to be able to dump toxins, to be able to make human growth hormone. We talked about this, and to be able to repair so you have energy for the next day. So yeah, I ask people, do you have trouble falling asleep, staying asleep? And a telltale sign, do you wake up consistently between the hours of 1 and 4 a.m.? Telltale sign, there's blood sugar instability, a little bit of adrenal fatigue or metabolic devastation, that we have to regulate blood sugar throughout sleep so you don't get a cortisol spike or a stress hormone spike.
Because people
While
are
you're
walking
sleeping.
around bragging about not sleeping very much. 4 or 5. I mean, look, humans, right? Depending on what your beliefs are. That in the old days, let's say 300-400 years ago, when it got dark, you're inside.
Yeah.
Maybe you went to sleep. People were sleeping. Humans were probably sleeping 8 hours, 9 hours, maybe even more.
In the winter,
than that.
longer.
Yeah, so we're sleeping a lot, and now we're sleeping less and less and less. Stanford did a sleep study that the average working person is sleeping about 6.5 hours. And in the old days, which was in the 50s, they said they were sleeping 8.5 hours. So we're sleeping less, and we have all of these other stressors in our life.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with sleep, and I think people need to know this and how it makes you fat, is stress hormones like cortisol, right?
Yes.
Running from a tiger, whatever. When you don't sleep, and the term is wired and tired, that you are running on cortisol and adrenaline, and this is a big topic. Here's the other thing: you know what? You know in the boxing matches, you know when they put stuff in the cut over the eye. You ever seen that when they're cut, right? And you know what they're putting in the eye?
What?
Adrenaline. Okay, they're trying to clot it. So when people get heart attacks at night sometimes, or stress, that adrenaline it constricts the arteries. It's just something you don't want in your body.
We have to, all of us in today's world have to manage the stress response. Everybody has more stress than they've
But people
had
say,
in the past.
I'm not stressed. I'm not a stressful person, right? They look at it as like a sign of weakness, when in fact, you're not stressed, but if you're sleeping 6 hours a night, 5 hours a night, you are stressed.
You're not
Stress
getting the
defined by
repair.
you have a lot of stress hormones. Not only that, Daniel Amen, the famous MD psychiatrist, is on PBS all the time. You're going to be on PBS. I'm going to be glued to that, by the way, saying I know her. And my co-host, I'll say. And but if you don't sleep, you don't rebuild your neurotransmitters,
Yes.
specifically dopamine and serotonin. So the next day, it's blah.
It's blah.
You've lost your
yeah.
zest.
Well,
for
you
life.
can't produce enough epinephrine, norepinephrine, precursors to cortisol. Sleep is huge. But so a lot of Americans are struggling with sleep. How do we fix it?
Yeah,
what should we
that's
do?
the question.
Yeah. And so you
what
told
do you
me,
do?
wait.
Yeah.
Okay, you
Go
were telling me you take GABA, that's how you say it.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to say it.
I look at people's pH balance and I look at their mineral balance. And a lot of people, we need more magnesium. Okay, magnesium relaxes the nervous system.
Glycinate by any chance?
Glycinate, yes, is my favorite form, the easiest to
Okay.
absorb, and what hits
I
the
take
nervous
750
system.
milligrams, I think is the right dose.
Okay, that's kind of high, but if you're highly stressed, then that's a good dose.
Okay.
450 is what I would typically say.
Well, you're smaller than I am.
Is to take 450 magnesium glycinate.
Okay.
Great. Or I have people try to create a nighttime ritual to slow their roll, and I use magnesium oil, and I'll have them take a bath
Whoa.
with 4 ounces of magnesium oil, or a foot bath if you don't want to take a full-on
Foot
bath.
bath?
Yeah, while you're watching
not
TV.
gonna take a foot bath.
You're not going to do it?
No.
You wouldn't take a bath either. You keep taking the magnesium pills.
I'll take showers.
The idea is to slow down, like you said.
So no computer lights. I mean, if you have a sleep problem, the things you have to do, number one, is you need to shut down earlier.
You need
So
to shut.
bright
Okay,
lights.
so too many bright lights, too much computers suppresses melatonin function.
Okay.
Melatonin is that key hormone that induces sleep, and hand in hand with human growth hormone. Turn off your phone at least 30 minutes to an hour before bed. Don't use it to unwind and play games, or read a magazine, stretch, breathe. We have to build in time for
And
relaxation.
caffeine, limit your caffeine, obviously.
No caffeine after noon.
So what's your protocol? I'll tell you my protocol.
Yeah.
Because I've had to kind of tweak it around over the years.
Okay.
Because people ask me this all the time, but because they say I have a lot of energy, right? You accuse me of being on some secret hormones. I say it's not the hormones.
Yeah.
It's
It's just the natural Randy.
magnesium. I like magnesium. I also like to take GABA, 750 milligrams.
You don't want to stay on that though.
That's what you said.
And 5-HTP.
Depends how stressed I am.
Okay.
I do the 5-HTP. For mine, for me, it seems to be a little stimulating. So 5-HTP doesn't work for me for some strange reason.
It's called serotonin syndrome. It's stimulating for a lot of people. I actually don't really use that so much in my practice anymore,
Yeah, too much serotonin. So you don't want to overdo it.
which can give you anxiety and keep you awake.
Yeah, so I have that's why I'm so positive all the time. 'Cause my serotonin levels are through the roof. Exactly. Okay, but
That's
that
your
happens
protocol.
to be mine. And then if
Okay.
I've gone through the medications, and there's a big story with this, but I'm not a fan of Ambien and some of those sleep medications and what it does to the memory. And there's a lot of negative side effects.
Sure.
The endocrinologists I talk to and the doctors I talk to think trazodone if you have to do it, but even then, not something you want to stay on for a long time. Maybe just to get yourself in a routine again.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm completely anti the medications. If you have a sleepless night here or there and you find something that works for
Yeah.
you, great. But to rely on it, it gets me when people say, I see people drinking Coke and coffee late at night. Oh, it doesn't matter, I can sleep, I'll just take an Ambien. That's a crazy way to live your life.
Yeah.
But if you're overstressed and you need it, fine. But here's the thing where you lose your memory. Most people think it's doing something to them, but it shuts you down, but that stress response is still going. So just because you're shut down, you're sleeping for 8 hours, you're still not getting that repair because you're masking that stress response. It has to turn off in order to get all the repair.
That's when you repair. You know, a lot of people, we're talking about weight loss too throughout this, that growth hormone, its biggest release is at night when you're asleep, in deep sleep.
I would say the majority of sleep issues, if I had to say, are from high cortisol because we're stressed.
Which is stress, okay.
So I use a compound called phosphatidylserine, and that binds to high cortisol and pulls it down. And I know you're going to disagree with this. I have my clients eat a snack at night.
Now you know what I think.
I know what you think. I know you probably don't want to eat late at night.
I like phosphatidylserine. No, I used to, I got to get back on it.
Yeah, I think you should take that instead of. Well, we got to run your brain chemistry because that's the only way to know if you should be taking this GABA and what works for you, right? As people are kind of self-medicating, and even with the natural stuff, you can go overboard.
But a meal at night, now this is controversial, what you said. You said, I wouldn't probably agree. Let me hear this. So I don't think I've really heard this before.
So phosphatidylserine, it's abbreviated PS, if you're going to look for it in the health food store, will bind to high cortisol and pull it down to keep it low at night so you can get in that REM state. Then your cortisol can pop up in the morning and you can actually use it as energy. Okay, so that's one thing. 100 milligrams before bed, that's pretty standard protocol. I have to get people sleeping to feel better.
You could take that forever?
You don't want to take anything forever. You want to heal, so you don't need it. Stop producing high cortisol at night.
Because certain hormones go up as you age. Cortisol and insulin are two of those hormones. So you can lower those naturally with the things we're talking about.
Yeah, they don't need to go up in age. That's not a byproduct of aging. Yeah. Okay, so having a snack at night. So the right amount of proteins, carbs, and fats before you go to bed.
Luckily we put this at the end, because if we put this at the beginning,
we'd fight about it.
No, they would say, I don't agree with this. So eating before bedtime.
I'm not saying to have a huge meal. I'm just saying to have a very small snack, protein, carb, and fat. So for example, I would say have maybe a piece of turkey with a little bit of avocado and a gluten-free cracker. Something like that.
And then just go to bed.
Go to bed. That having that right amount will shut off the stress response so that you don't get low blood sugar between 1 and 4 a.m. And because the relationship between insulin and cortisol, you get a cortisol spike in the middle of the night.
Okay, but this is interesting. Okay, but if you're laying down and you're digesting now, because your body, a lot of energy goes toward digestion, and some people say 80% of your energy is robbed from digestion, that now you're digesting when you should be repairing and replenishing hormones.
That's a cogent argument, but I'm not saying have a full meal. I'm saying just have enough. Maybe you do like a little bit of a smoothie, or just something where you're not giving your digestive system a burden to process at night.
Is it more about what not to eat than it is what to eat?
Well, you have to say, oh, you're eating that? Okay, eat this instead so they don't feel deprived. So it's both. It's giving them options. You don't want to just take away things, because then that's no fun.
What about blow-it days?
Okay, give me an idea.
Do
you mean Twinkies?
Well, we're talking about books, but no, I don't think Twinkies, that's about the worst thing you could do. But you got to realize my mind was completely playing tricks on me. And, you know, my phone was ringing, I'm eating Twinkies. I didn't care about my kids, my work, nothing. I just wanted to finish the Twinkies and get on with my life. I'm serious.
Let's do an emotional eating show. We need to talk about this a lot more.
But that happens so rare. But that hasn't happened in 8 years.
I just mean in general. That happens to a lot of people.
Okay, so let's give a recap here.
Yes.
Like you say, which I learned from you. You say give the body what it needs.
Take away what it doesn't.
And
it will heal itself.
It heals itself. Thyroid problems go away. You start sleeping again. You have more energy. Because when you sleep, you have more energy. When you have more energy, you're more active. When you're more active, you're positive.
Your
feel
life
better.
is better. You have a better life. So
you
much
have charisma.
of this is about quality of life. Yeah, charisma, and you
energy,
do different things with your life and your time, and that's what this is all about, is helping people feel their best.
And as far as vegans, you can work with them to give them the same thing, because I always feel like that it's hard to give them a proper zone. It seems like it's going to be 80% carbohydrates. That could be way off there.
Vegans are tough. It depends on how bad their adrenals are and what's going on. And I completely respect the idea of veganism, and I understand the moral stance and all of that. But just from a physiological perspective, it takes a little bit more time to recover from adrenal fatigue if you're not willing to eat animal products. And it's a lot of work. You know, I've got them soaking and sprouting, and I don't know how to do it any other way. And they're on more supplements. And so you can use high quality animal products to heal.
And my final message too, because we're talking about thyroid, and I forgot to mention this, that many doctors, and I've met thousands of doctors, and the typical doctor, even great doctors that think they're doing a great job, what they do is they give them thyroid, maybe a little testosterone, try to optimize their hormones, but there's not an emphasis on what they eat.
Yeah.
And I'm from the standpoint, if you don't have a full-time nutrition program within your practice, you will fail, which means your patients will fail.
That is my dream for the future, that there will be a nutritionist. I mean, not all nutritionists are created equal. They have to have a similar philosophy in every doctor's office, and it's at least half of the puzzle, if not more.
So we're heading into the show. Final message about what we talked about.
The final message is be your own best doctor. Evaluate your lifestyle, see where you're at, make a couple of upgrades from what you learn, and then build off of that.
And by the way, we should say something about you. You have this online program.
Oh, right.
That is fantastic. A Dr. Catherine Goodson loves you.
She's great.
She came out here from another state just to see you. I have another guy, we should mention, another doctor, Dwello, who is flying out. He's coming in today. Who's going to be on your online program also. He's going to meet with you face to face, or on the phone, I should say. So that's big. That's taken off.
Yeah, this online program, I have been working on it now for over a year. The Whole Journey 3-month program to change your life. This is not a diet. It's creating a lifestyle. Finishing work, I call it. Be flexible with your food for the rest of your life.
Do they ever get to speak to somebody? Is it done by Skype?
No, this is a program that they'll download, and they'll have back-end access, and there's videos and there's the material, and they go through 1 of 6 sessions every 2 weeks for 3 months, and then I'm emailing them once a week with support and encouragement. And every other week they get action items that they can follow. And when these action items build upon themselves at the end of the 3 months, life looks dramatically different.
And they can follow your blog.
They can follow us on Facebook and
yeah,
go to
so if they go on
thewholejourney.com.
Facebook, it's Whole Journey, and there's a lot of information on there. You know, I underestimate you sometimes, because I was reading some of your stuff, and I was going, where? She didn't tell me she knew that. I was thinking this.
You were?
Yeah, I was going.
When I sent you the Candida blog, we have so many shows we have to do to talk about.
Because I didn't know you knew all that stuff.
Yeah, good. I'm glad I can pleasantly surprise you.
It's like, whoa, you know, she didn't tell me about all these things. Okay, well, thank you so much. So that's this week's show. You're watching the Randy and Christa Show. I'm Randy Alvarez. That's Christa Orecchio. News that makes you healthier. We'll see you next week.